Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Mid-South Wrestling Review for the 15th of December, 1984. We are very close to the end of the year. Last three episodes of the year. Ted DiBiase and uh, Buddy Landell make challenges. Basically, Landell making challenges to anyone that'll listen, including but not limited to Butch Reed and others. And DiBiase making challenges to the Rock and Roll Express, Duggan, and anyone who will listen. DiBiase as the leader of the Rat Pack, still in control of Mid South. Buddy Landell and Shawn Michaels. A match that happens about 11 years earlier than their best match to date in Smoky Mountain in '95. Shawn Michaels, obviously a newcomer, less than a year of experience here, and Landell guiding him through, but Landell, a young guy in this particular endeavor too, and we will be back in two shakes of a lamb's tail there. And again, you get the Michaels and the benefit of the Michaels run. Certainly worth taking a look at. Obviously, Shawn Michaels, if not the best ever, one of the best ever, a guy that many people would consider to be in that top echelon, so to speak. And at the end of the day, a guy that I don't think anyone is going to take a sneeze at. Obviously, the Michaels Landell run could have been different had they been in different territories at different times. But obviously, one went the NWA route, the other went the WWF route for the majority of their career. But that Smoky Mountain match, which I'm going to have so much fun covering when it happens in my Smoky Mountain reviews that eventually I'm going to go back to doing. That's going to be a super fun time for me because Smoky Mountain is my all-time favorite promotion. But anyhow, this Shawn Michaels and Buddy Landell match, a much different one as I reopen my notepad here just because, well, I decided to close. Anyway, Michaels here still the bumping machine that he ends up being all the time. And still a guy that virtually anyone can learn something from, even if they're not wanting to. He bumps around for Landell. Much simpler match. Obviously, Shawn Michaels not knowing the mechanics of how to put a match together at this point in his career. But at the same time, simple enough that he can be led by just about anybody. Landell doesn't have a ton. Yes, he has years on Michaels, but not like 20, and so I think there's an art form to guys being taught better than now, and I think there's certainly a benefit to the different ways of teaching that ultimately lead to better wrestling, better wrestlers, and a better overall product. There's somebody said the other day in a discussion I was part of on social media, there was so much more talent back then. It's not that there was more, it's that guys were trained and ladies were trained to have long careers and do the least to get the most. Now guys are trained to do flippy, floppy, flyy junk that isn't going to save them in the long run. Yes, it's flashy to look at, but at the end of the day, it doesn't serve the greater good purpose of getting you a 20 or 30-year career in most cases. Some people, uh, are capable of doing that, but not most. Anyway, Landell continues into the being one of my favorite guys simply because there is the continuation of him kind of rolling into things there and being a guy who is able to lead a guy like a Shawn Michaels. Anyway, Landell being told basically he doesn't get what he wants all the time, and the match does break down into really simple stuff. Michaels obviously, doing the circle, trained by Jose Lothario, and backdrop a little bit awkward in the timing, but he got where he wanted to be. Arm bar by Michaels. Michaels stays on the arm for the foreseeable future of the match, cranks up on it a little bit, gets where he wants to get with it, and ultimately Landell tries to fight back, fight up, always in motion. That's one thing that a good heel knows how to do. Always looking like he's fighting out of a hold, not just going through motions. Hip toss by Michaels. Michaels hesitates as a rookie would, but goes back to the arm. You see, uh, several times Michaels tries to stay on the arm but continues to hook it a little bit. Then, when Landell finally breaks free of the arm hold, he's shaking the arm. He's making a big deal out of it. Hits the diving elbow, which the elbow drop is a finish, and there you go. We move on to Brad Armstrong against Ernie Ladd for the North American title. Interesting deal there. I'm not quite sure where that comes from in terms of it seems premature. Ladd still holding on to the title. Maybe there was a plan all along to bring Brad Armstrong in and give him an opportunity. Who knows? But Armstrong does some duck and dodge with Ernie Ladd, as would be expected. Smaller guy. Of course, Ladd's going to look big no matter who he's in there with. Legit 6'7", 6'8", something like that. Big body slam, release style on Armstrong, and Ladd cranks up on a front face lock, makes it look real. His facials are making it look real. Burying Brad's Brad's neck into the crink of the arm makes it look real. Cross body, Brad knowing the difference between selling and dying and managing to successfully navigate that. Hard shots by Armstrong, and again we see the Irish whip across into the buckle, tries the monkey flip, and actually gets him over. It's awkward looking, but it should be with that level of size differential, and that's one thing that I think guys and ladies today don't know enough of. Is moves can look awkward if you're doing it to someone who's disproportionate to your body. Anyway, Ladd manages to duck down off the cross body, manages to go for a big splash, but Armstrong gets the knees up. After getting the knees up, having a man land on your knees, Armstrong manages to shake the knee off. Meanwhile, tape or some form of foreign object being handed to Ernie Ladd. Or grabbed by Ernie Ladd. Ladd manages to knock the referee down in the process. Sleeper hold there by Armstrong. Armstrong manages to get a victory, and I believe is your new North American champion. Yeah, holding the belt, and ultimately that is a major shock. Maybe that was the transition all along. Maybe there was someone else planned for the transition. Who really knows? Magnum TA and Kamala up next. Obviously, Kamala had come in and affected Butch Reed for a while before. Also, this is, I think, his second or third time through the territory. Chops by Kamala. One thing that's good about the Kamala gimmick, he can go away and come back year and a half later, and people remember, but they kind of had new talent for him to bounce off of. Skandar Akbar and Friday are there. Nerve holds by Kamala, choke holds by Kamala, holding the man up for quite a bit. Several shots by Kamala. Kamala manages to take the man down and hold him on the mat. Pretty assertive, aggressive, as it were, there. Meanwhile, we see Kamala kind of getting the nerve hold, pinch hold, whatever you want to call it, on Magnum. Magnum with the double chop into the throat, and then again the under the armpits and all of that. Ultimately, it is several things going on there, and Kamala manages to do the best he can with shots along the way. Drop kick under the chin, and a second one there. Kamala manages to get out of the way, but also manages to hit a splash, several of them. Magnum taking a good bit of punishment. Some would say maybe too much, but because he takes about 3 or 4 splashes. Akbar up on the ring apron, referee calling for some form of assistance. Anyway, Butch Reed comes in to kind of cut off Kamala, and Reed and Kamala are going to go at it at some point. Landell comes in to try to save I guess save or even the odds for Kamala. Kamala continuing to splash on the Magnum TA. Dead DiBiase runs down to try and cut off Butch Reed, manages to nail Buddy Landell. The arm or cast of DiBiase's ripped off. Kamala unhappy. Akbar unhappy. Just about everyone unhappy, unless you're maybe Butch Reed in that moment. Dale Weasley versus Tim Horner. Horner back to being a major baby, well, a mediocre middle card baby face, maybe, against Weasley. Basic wrestling, standby match, takedowns, and all of that. Horner not necessarily having a push here, but kind of floats over into the front face lock, into the reverse wrist locks, and all of that. Horner trying to get any advantage he can get, including rolling out of things, doesn't get what he wants out of it. Side headlock takeover, and Weasley manages to roll him back onto the shoulders, gets a near fall, does not get a victory out of it. The takeover by Horner. Horner manages to kind of hold him up there, and again, the side headlock takeover. Horner manages to find himself in the head scissors, doesn't get what he wants out of that. Shoulder tackle by Horner. Horner comes up and over, back to the headlock takeover. Guys who know how to work know how to go back to a hold. Doesn't mean that you have to do a hold every time out, but high spots are meant to be high points in matches. They're not meant to be strung together like some goof who's doing gymnastics. Not that there's anything wrong with being a gymnast, but you're not a wrestler if you're a gymnast, and you're not a gymnast if you're a wrestler. It's just, they're two different disciplines. Anyway, Russian leg sweep is the new finish, apparently, for Tim Horner, because that's how he gets the victory. Jag victory, speaking of victory, hiccups there, against Terry Taylor. Taylor kind of has been floundering for several months. Nice underneath baby face, but what's he really doing or accomplishing? We don't really know. A decent guy with a good little mini push for a while with the TV championship, but it's not there. Taylor takes him down, kind of gets him around. The victory cuts a flip on the arm wringer, and we see a big body slam by Taylor. Taylor manages to do whatever he can, including but not limited to take the man over and around with the arm bar, and ultimately Fireman's Carry takeover, and again, there we go. Several hard shots, and we see the victory managing to. Then we see the fire back by Taylor. Taylor manages to drop the knee across the nose, and manages to do that quite effectively. And he gets the 5-arm and the victory, does Terry Taylor. I don't know that it does anything for Taylor. I don't know that it necessarily hurts and Jack victory at this point in his career, but it's a match that could have not happened. And, kind of, I guess it's fine. Terry Ellis against Terry Daniels. Private Terry Daniels is, I think he did the Sergeant Slaughter core thing already in another territory. That's why he's got the private name. I know I met and worked with Terry in 1997-98 time frame. He came to New England for a little while, did a few shows that I was on. He was a cool guy. Drop kick by Daniels, and he manages to whip his opponent around in a big back body drop. Daniels kind of looks pretty good, but looks like he's lacking direction out there, and the enhancement talent he's working with, Ellis, not really doing anything for him. Back elbows continually, and we see Daniels kind of going to town on the enhancement talent here. Scooping him up, kind of eating him alive. Big body slam by Daniels, and Daniels almost with a power slam, but it looks kind of weak, so you wouldn't really want to call it that. Anyway, especially with a guy like Dr. Death in the territory who's using it as a finish. But anyhow, mistakes happen. Goes to the reverse chinlock. Daniels finally gets a victory almost with a Cobra Clutch type sleeper. Gets the victory. DiBiase announces some changes to some upcoming matches in a promo, and then we go to Hercules and Dr. Death versus the Rock and Roll Express. Hercules and Dr. Death basically are kind of stand-in tag team there. Needless to say, I believe that Dr. Death is allowed to step in for one half of the tag team champions. Rock and Roll Express trying to get their belts back, trying to get back on their winning ways. Ricky Morton and Hercules Hernandez squaring off. Hercules hitting some forearms and hard shots along the way. Hercules cuts him off. Morton moves out of the way. Hercules drops the knee and misses. Gibson comes in, tries to roll through, and kind of hyperextend the leg. Meanwhile, Morton pulls the man back in. DiBiase at ringside with towel around his neck, looking very nervous for his tag team partner Hercules. Hercules gets his leg rung over several times. Knees and such across the shin bone and the ankle bone of Hercules. The former tag team champions, the Rock and Roll Express, with several moves across the leg there. Cut off on Ricky Morton, kind of hard shots along the way. Hercules manages to hit as many shots as he can. Sidewalk slam attempted by Hercules into a backbreaker that leads him where he wants to go. Then we see a tag off to Williams. Williams comes in with a double axe handle to the spine, and he takes Morton down a bit. Ultimately, shots by Hercules across the back of his adversary, and then we see, a hard shot by Williams. Williams gets taken with the side headlock. Both men crash together. Tag off to Robert Gibson. He takes over on Hercules for a little bit. Morton and Gibson having some issues, knocking DiBiase, who gets up on the apron, off the apron. Morton gets spun around. He goes behind Hercules. Hercules gets rolled up, and awkward roll up. Can't hold him. 1, 2, 3, and the Rock and Roll Express are victorious. DiBiase pulls Morton out to the floor, sends him into the post. Might have busted him open in the process there. Morton obviously gets rolled into the ring, and he's bleeding. Now, not necessarily bleeding all the way, but maybe a little trickle of blood, doesn't get as much as he wants on it. Meanwhile, DiBiase and Williams laying out the Rock and Roll Express, and certainly the baby faces run down to save him. That will close us for the 15th of December. We're going to come back with more action right after this.